I am aware that the Vatican and certain Catholic communities are accusing my show of being sinful and blasphemous, that they are trying to keep people from seeing it. Basta per favore! Hi, welcome back to Judas of Disturbia. I am Raf, and this episode is part 2 of the previous episode in which I was giving my review and recap of the 1991 documentary Madonna Truth or Dare, directed by Alec Keshishian, which chronicles the fascinating world which developed in the backstage of the tour Blonde Ambition, which Madonna did in the year 1990. As I always say, my dogs are with me, so if you listen to the cutest sounds in the world, that is them. As you remember from the previous episode, I ended up talking about the way that the relationship between Madonna, her family, and her brother Martin was portrayed on the documentary. And as I said back then, I do not think that I am the right person to talk about this because I feel like it is really complicated and personal. However, there are things that were shown in the documentary that I think that I can mention. So let's start with one of those, and let's continue with this fascinating story. And remember that everything that I say in here is allegedly. In here, I am talking about Madonna and her brother Martin Ciccone. One of the things that happen in there is when he wants to hang out with her, but she doesn't feel totally sure. He doesn't understand that she is in a tour, that she's pretty tired. She cannot go in a party with him because she has to rest for the show that she has the next day. Then she says, like, you can come at night after the show, but he doesn't do it on time, and then she goes to sleep and he's late, and you can see how he's a little bit upset because she went to sleep and didn't wait for him. But at the end of the day, the documentary basically shows you the relationship between them. Like, it's fine at the moment, but it's a little bit uncomfortable, and you can see how she feels uncomfortable with the brother. There is a moment when she is waiting for the brother, and she tells someone from her staff, maybe one of the bodyguards, my brother is coming with some friends, let them come, but stay close or something like that because my brother's crazy. And they are telling the story of how Martin was supposed to be in jail, but he accepted to go to rehab instead of jail, and a lot of things that are really complicated. I'm not here to talk about Martin either. Ultimately, that's not what my episode is about. I am just mentioning as much things as I can remember from the documentary and giving you basically my opinion. And my opinion, when they are telling us such personal things, is like, okay, they are actually opening the doors to see a lot of the things that back in 1990 you had nowhere to see. This was a reality show about Madonna in the tour, and this was an opening of the doors of her heart, not her house and her hotel room, her heart. And this was really important because I think that Madonna is really smart when she does something like this, because in order to be inspirational and aspirational as she wants to be here, I think there cannot be a walk between you and the person that you want to be inspired by you, which is your audience. You have to let your audience see that you actually have a real life, that you have conflicts, that you have a family, a real family, and that you are a normal girl, so they can understand that you are like them, but you actually made it big. But there is not like a wall between the audience and Madonna, making her feel untouchable. I think that what they do in this documentary is taking Madonna to the level of the people, to the level of the megastar, but also to the level of the people without a barrier in the middle. And that's why they are able to make an inspirational and aspirational documentary. Really important. Like I said before, when they are about to finish the tour in America, they have to stop the tour because Madonna is having problems with her voice. Then when they come back, I don't know how much time after, they come back, and I think they are doing the last shows in New York. And Madonna describes in the documentary how everything was so weird, Like at the moment when all the staff and the dancers, they all stop living together because the tour stopped. It's like all the relationships in a way broke. And then a lot of things were happening. This was the time when Oliver was getting pressed because he was apparently dating Madonna, and she had broken up with Warren. And let me tell you, apparently, some of the dancers have said that in the moment when Madonna was dating Warren, they actually had a good relationship with Warren. It looks like he's the most uncomfortable person in there, but apparently, when the cameras were not on, he wasn't that bad. So I don't know if there was something about that, but there was a lot of tension. And I think that this is also the moment in which something's happened to one of the girls that also is like one of the daughters of Madonna in the narrative of the mother hen, who is Sharon. She's a makeup artist, but not a makeup artist to Madonna. Madonna has another makeup artist, but Sharon is the makeup artist to the backup dancers, Nikki and Donna, I think. And something really bad happens to her. I'm going to talk about that later. But a lot of things are happening. There is a lot of commotion when they come back, and then they go to Europe. And then it looks like things came back to normal for a moment. And then when they go to Italy, they realize that the Vatican and some Catholic people are trying to boycott, to say it in a way, boycott these shows that Madonna is going to perform in Italy. She actually was able to perform some of the shows, but they had to actually cancel 2 shows. She was being accused of being blasphemous, etc. This comes to the topic that I was saying before. It's like if you don't see that this is a theater play, and you don't realize that Madonna is not endorsing to do this or that or whatever they are complaining about, then you're just going to think that she's the worst thing that can happen to Italy. And there is a really important thing that happening here. There is a moment when she gets to Italy on July 9, 1990, and she gets through the Ciampino airport in Rome, and she reads what today it's known as the Ciampino Speech. And I'm actually going to read the whole thing because I think it's really important. She's defending her show, and everything she says here, I want you to listen to it. Remember the context here. She's getting to Italy to perform shows in different cities in Italy, and the Vatican is trying to boycott the shows because they are accusing her of blasphemous and of being a sinner, basically. So I will read the whole speech. I'm quoting Madonna in the Ciampino airport right now. I want full silence or I will not speak. And I have to tell you that if you haven't seen the video, people were going crazy here. She had to say it several times, full silence, because people weren't letting her talk. I want full silence or I will not speak. I am an Italian American and I am proud of it. Proud of being an American because it is the country I grew up in, the country that gave me the opportunities to be who I am today, and a country that believes in freedom of speech and artistic expression. I am also proud of being an Italian because it is my father's heritage and because it is the reason that I am passionate about the things that I believe in. It is also the reason my blood boils when I am misunderstood or unfairly judged for my beliefs. I am aware that the Vatican and certain Catholic communities are accusing my show of being sinful and blasphemous, that they are trying to keep people from seeing it. Basta, per favore. If you're sure that I am a sinner, then let who has not sinned cast the first stone. If you're not sure, then I beg you, as righteous men and women of Catholic Church that worship a God who loves unconditionally, to see my show and then judge me. My show is not a conventional rock show, but a theatrical presentation of my music. Unlike theater, it asks questions, provokes thoughts, and takes you on an emotional journey, portraying good and bad, light and dark, joy and sorrow, redemption and salvation. I do not endorse a way of life, but describe one, and the audience is left to make its own decisions and judgments. This is what I consider freedom of speech, freedom of expression and freedom of thought. To prevent me from performing my show, you, the Catholic Church, are saying that you do not believe in these freedoms. If you do not believe in these freedoms, you are imprisoning everyone's mind. When a mind is imprisoned, then our spiritual light dies. When the spirit dies, there is no reason to live. Every night before I go on stage, I say a prayer. Not only that my show will go well, but that the audience will watch with an open heart and an open mind and see it as a celebration of love, life, and humanity. Sono molto felice di essere qui. And then I know that I have promised myself that I'm not going to make this podcast about religion, because it looks like I always end up talking about religion and complaining about everything that I complain about related to the Catholic Church, which I've also been born into. But I have to say this. When she says freedom of thought, isn't that one of the biggest fears of any church? For the people to have freedom of thought. I'm sorry for asking this question in my episode, but I had to. The tour kept going. They actually had to cancel a couple of shows in Italy because of all of this controversy, but it looks like everything ended up fine. You can see in the documentary a big party that they made. So things ended up fine as a family. I think that the last concert was in the French Riviera. I watched that concert and it looks like everything in the show ended up fine. Then I also want to comment about one scene that happens almost at the end of the movie when they are playing Truth or Dare. If Madonna was describing the Blonde Ambition tour as racy, I think that the documentary is pretty racy also and risque, and I love it. When they are playing Truth or Dare at the end, there is a scene in which Madonna, I think it's cartoon, to show his dick. And I think he does it. You cannot see that. I think in some scene at the end, you can see his butt. But in that scene when he is playing Truth or Dare, apparently he shows them his dick in a movie in 1990. I think it is really transgressive, I think. I don't know how much movies were doing things like that back then. And then one scene that I really like because of how brave that is from Madonna is when she is there then by one of the backup dancers. I think it was Nikki that dares Madonna to show with a bottle how she gives head. And she actually goes and practically gives like a full blowjob to the bottle. And she does it with such freedom, and then she ends up drinking the bottle, and I'm like, this woman is a rock star because she's not afraid of anything. I really like that because I hate oppression, and I like when people go against oppression. As I said before, I also want to talk about the cameos. First of all, of course, Warren Beatty. I already talked a lot about him. Pretty uncomfortable in the whole movie. Then we have Sarah Bernhardt. It's funny that I don't know how to pronounce Sarah Bernhardt because there is one scene in which Oliver is talking about her, and he is not only saying that he's scared of her, but he's also trying to pronounce her last name, and he doesn't know how to do it. I think it's Sarah Bernhardt, which is awesome that right now she's in American Horror Story. And what you can see of Sarah in here is that she and Madonna are really good friends. It's like they are really comfortable to talk about relationships. Madonna is telling her about wanting to have some fun because she's working a lot at the moment when Sarah visits her at her hotel room. I don't remember where, but somewhere when she was doing the tour. And Sarah is telling her about a relationship with some girl, and they are so comfortable talking to each other. I really like how this relationship was portrayed in here. Also in Los Angeles, like I said before, there is a lot of cameos. Madonna wasn't happy about that because these people from the industry that is invited are there just because they have to, and they probably don't want to show if they are having fun or something, and they would just stay sitting. And we know that Madonna doesn't like when people is sitting and not having fun. She wants her audience to be having a party. And then when they go to the backstage, it's also pretty uncomfortable. You can see people like Al Pacino, Matt Dillon at some point in a party, I think. Rosy de Palma at some point when she's having a party thrown by Pedro Almodovar in Spain, I think. You can also see Jean-Paul Gaultier, of course, the designer, doing some photo shoot with her. In Los Angeles, you can also see Olivia Newton-John. And as I said before, also in Spain, you can see the dinner that Pedro Almodovar hosted for Madonna. And you can see here Antonio Banderas, Rosy de Palma. And it is pretty funny how Madonna was telling Sarah how she had such a crush on Antonio, because Sarah is like, you want to have fun? Just tell me who you want to have fun with. Like, do you have anyone that you would like to meet? Any celebrity? And Madonna is like, I met everyone. No one interests me. I met everyone. And then she says, oh, okay, that guy that is in all Pedro Almodovar's movies. And Madonna says how she has seen all of Pedro's movies and how she is really into Antonio Banderas. And then Pedro hosts a dinner for her in Spain, and she meets Antonio, and she goes there ready to like flirt with him and meet him, and she's really excited because she finds him really hot and everything. And the surprise is that she finds out at the party that he's there with his wife, and it is really mortifying for Madonna. And at the end, she left. She's upset. At some moment, she goes to the bathroom, really ashamed of what had happened, and then she kind of forgets about it. She makes some fun about it. It's also funny to think that I don't know if at this point they would have any idea of that, but like 5 years later, they worked together, right? They worked together in Evita. So when they did Evita, they already had like history, like pretty interesting history. Also, in the cameos, one that is really interesting is the cameo of Kevin Costner. And this is Kevin Costner just before he won the Oscar as Best Director for Dances with Wolves. And what happened is that Kevin was one of the people that was invited to the concert. He's there, then he is invited to go backstage to say hello to Madonna. He goes there. She's being nice at the beginning. She's saying hello to him. She says something like, did you like the show? And he says, I thought it was neat. That's the word that he uses, neat. And she doesn't like that word at all when he says it. Then he leaves and she makes a gesture to like throw up. Like she is really upset about him describing her show as neat, and she says anyone describing my show as neat has to leave, and she's so upset with him. And the story that I know is that when this documentary came out and Kevin saw this, he was so heartbroken. And he says, I didn't even want to go backstage. They made me go backstage. And I actually thought the show was great. And the only word that came to my mind when she asked me was neat. And I don't know why she felt so offended. So Kevin was heartbroken. Then years later, he tells the story how many years later, maybe 20 years later, Madonna is back to Los Angeles with another tour. I don't know which of the tours. And he takes his daughters because he says something like, I think that Madonna is someone that they need to see live. And he takes his daughters to see Madonna. And Madonna finds out that he's on the audience. And she publicly says something like, Kevin Costner is in the audience and I want to apologize to him. And that's the story about it. So she actually apologized by this. And it looks like he was fine with it too. Now I want to talk about some scenes that I think that are important to mention. There is one scene at the end of the documentary when the director has all the dancers and all of these people that are part of the cast of the documentary, like the dancers, the two backup singers, having like interviews and conversations with Madonna in bed. Madonna looks gorgeous. She's wearing pearls. And there is a moment, and I don't remember which one of the dancers she's talking to at the moment, but she says something like, I would kill a gay man if he hates a woman. And she says like, I hate people that hate. And it's pretty interesting how she says, I will kill a gay man. However, I do understand. I do understand that the idea is like anyone that hates a woman, anyone that hates, like she says in general, is not someone you want to have around. I think that even in this era, saying I would kill, a phrase like that, is not something I would do. But again, it's 1990. They were using a lot of phrases that maybe now we would prefer not to use, I guess. But I do understand, you know? And what I understand here is that it's not like I would kill a gay man. It's like I would kill anyone that hates a woman, even if that's a gay man. So it's like I would always protect gay men, but I would not accept anyone hating a woman, even if it's a gay man. So there is nothing weird here. I just wanted to make an observation of that phrase. Something else that was really important for me to talk about is everything that happened with Sharon when they were in Europe. Sharon Gault is, like I said before, the girl that was doing the hair of the backup dancers of Madonna. She was also like one of the kids of the mother hen, as I understood in the documentary. And this story is pretty concerning, and what I don't like is the way that this was handling here. Definitely, if this happened in this era, this would be handled with so much more care, and it could be handled in such a different way. Basically, what's happening is that Sharon apparently told a story of how she was partying the night before, and she was dancing with some guys apparently in a bar, which apparently it wasn't a bad bar or anything. It was like a fine place. She wasn't drinking, according to her. And then she doesn't remember anything, and she woke up on her hotel room naked and bleeding. Like, basically, it looks like she was drugged and, they took advantage of her. It's a horrific story, what she's telling, and the way that it's handling there, it's pretty bad. Basically, what Madonna tells to one of the people on the staff is basically she's kinda, first she's laughing, and she says sorry for laughing. I think that is nervous laughing. It's like, what are you telling me? It's like nervous laughing. But she's also telling this person, like, almost like blaming Sharon. Like, maybe she was telling these people she was dancing with that she was touring with me, and that she was staying at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and these people say like, okay, you're kind of a big deal, so we're going to take advantage of you. So like she put herself in danger for being telling stories of being with Madonna and stuff. And I'm like, it feels like almost like they are blaming this girl for whatever happened to her, which sounds like it was damn horrific. And they never say if anyone called the police or anyone talked to Sharon. They didn't recorded anything of Madonna talking to Sharon. Like, Madonna is supposed to be like the boss in there. She's a role model for all of these people. They look up to her, and she didn't talk to her. At least they didn't show it publicly or even mention if it happened. At some point, after this happens, you see how when Madonna is making a prayer, like she always does at the beginning of every show, she says something like, a lot of things are happening, there is a lot of tension, it's time for us to take care of each other, or something like that. Or like, we should be taking care of all of us. And it's like, is that it? Did anyone call the police? Is anyone talking to Sharon? Is anyone taking Sharon to the doctor? This is really mortifying. And I know it's really weird to be talking about this. It's like, this is so private for Sharon, but it was also exposed in there. So Sharon, if you ever listen to this, I am sorry. I'm just talking about what was on the documentary. I just feel it's horrific what happened to Sharon, and the fact that this was handled horribly by the staff of the Blonde Ambition tour. Or at least that's what they showed. If this was handled a little bit better, they didn't show it on the documentary. This was also one of the parts that I like the least in the whole documentary. Another story that I have to share is the story of Moira Mcfarland. There is a part of the documentary when they are in Detroit when Madonna and Christopher are talking about the Mcfarlands. I think that they are the sisters that they met when they were little. And Moira in special seems to be really important for Madonna, or maybe in a sarcastic way, important for her. She actually calls her her idol. She starts telling stories of how Moira teach her pretty important stuff, like using a tampon. Moira at some point denies this, but Madonna keeps insisting. And she keeps calling her her idol. However, I think it is on a sarcastic way. And then you can see Moira actually in the backstage. She went to see Madonna. This could be a little reunion of the childhood friends. And Moira is, in a pretty funny way, denying everything that Madonna is saying. Things like, for example, that they would sleep naked in bed or something like that. And she also starts telling stories of her own life. She starts saying that her life after they stopped seeing each other had been really difficult. She says that she had a lot of problems with drugs, that she at some point was stripping, and a lot of things that she considers bad in her life. She doesn't look happy. She also looks nervous to see Madonna, which is totally understandable. No matter if this is your friend, if this is someone you have always known, now, years later, she is not only Madonna, your friend from childhood, she is now Madonna, the super mega star. So you can understand why she is nervous. Madonna comes out of her hotel room and Moira is there. She gives her a painting. I am not sure if Moira actually painted this or if she bought it for her, but she gives Madonna a painting. Madonna says that she actually likes it. Her brother Christopher later also says that it's not that bad, but they actually make a little bit of fun that the painting that Moira gave to Madonna is of an actual Madonna, like a virgin, a Madonna with a baby. And they actually make a little bit of fun of this because how corny could that be to give a painting of a Madonna to Madonna? And as I say before, Madonna comes out of her hotel room and she says hello to her. In the reaction you see of Moira, Moira starts also telling Madonna how she wanted her to be the godmother for one of her previous kids. And Madonna says, yeah, I got your letter, but I read it really late and I wasn't able to do it. And then Moira says, oh yeah, but actually, I am pregnant again and I want you to be the godmother of this one that I'm having now. And it is obvious how Madonna is not really happy with this. Not upset or anything, but it is obvious that this is not something she is looking forward to. And I kind of understand because I think that a lot of people, when they have a lot of success, people will always want you to be the godmother, the godfather. And it is awesome to be someone's godmother or godfather, but it works if their parents want you to be the godmother or the godfather because they think that you are going to be a person that is going to be close to them and that basically will be able to take care of your kids if anything happens and the parents are not there anymore. But when you are a superstar like Madonna and someone wants you to be the godmother or godfather of the child, you start thinking, why for? You want me to be the godmother just because I'm the superstar. So I kind of do understand Madonna in this. So she basically denies Moira from this. She's nice to her, but she doesn't show herself like super friendly with Moira. Moira actually, when Madonna leaves, says something not super nice about Madonna. I don't remember what it is. It's not super bad either, but it's obvious that the encounter wasn't what Moira was expecting. But I think that the interesting part in here is how the expectations that people from her past have on her are pretty obviously not super sincere. I guess that that's the way I would read it. Something else that is really important to mention is a scene in which Madonna goes to visit the grave of her mother. And she tells the story of how she hasn't been there since she was a little kid. I think that this is really personal and it is portrayed in a really personal way. I have read articles of people saying how this was all staged. I can tell you that the way that this was filmed and the way that Madonna reacted here, you can see how she sincerely feels the loss of her mother and how she sincerely misses her mother. She actually gets on the ground next to her mother's grave, and it is obvious how the space between her mother's grave and the next grave is not enough. So she gets sideways and she says something like, I am going to be buried here next to my mother sideways, because that's the only way that she would be able to feed next to her mother. And that is really heartfelt also. I don't want to talk about this either a lot. I just wanted to mention that I see a lot of sincerity in this scene, and I think that it was portrayed in a really respectful way. And I guess that those are all the scenes that I wanted to talk about. The same way that I did on the episode about the tour, in which I was asking the question, does she make a statement at the end of the show? And my answer was yes. And what, according to me, the Blood Ambition tour said at the end was, believe in yourself, you can do it. Because for me, the show itself, it is an inspirational and aspirational show. And speaking up and expressing yourself. The same way, I want to ask the same question about this documentary. Does Madonna and Alec Kesishian, the director, make a statement at the end of the documentary? And again, my answer is yes. And what I think that they showing here is that Madonna is a human being with strengths and weaknesses. They show Madonna real in here. And I really like it because of that. Actually, I think that pretty recently, Madonna has said that she doesn't like to watch this documentary anymore because she is scared of how much like a brat she looks in this documentary. And if you think about it, yes, maybe she does look like a brat, but she also looks like a hard-working artist, a real hard-working artist, and that is really admirable. And maybe because of that, it is not that bad that she looks like a brat. Because if you think about it, the things that she's obsessing about or fighting about are things that make total sense. She looks upsetting here, yes, for things like the microphones going off and damaging the show. So it's not like a stupid thing that any girl is fighting for. These are like real serious things that are important. So she looks like a brat, maybe a little bit. But I think that she most importantly looks like a real hard-working artist. And that is what I like about her and about this documentary. I also want to say that it's obvious how the time has passed and how sometimes she does things that don't look a lot like the same ways that she was doing in this moment at the beginning of the 90s. And people is actually making fun of Madonna, and it really makes me mad because believe me, when Madonna does something, no matter how it looks, she's planning something. And I think that that's what she's doing right now. I think that she's coming with something great. Believe me. Listen to me. I think that she's coming with something great. If you're making fun of Madonna right now, if you're ignoring the fact that Madonna is the greatest of all time in pop music, for me, then you're just ignorant. And I know that there are people as good as she is, but Madonna is on the top, like top. Maybe she, Michael Jackson, they did it great in pop. But if you're making fun of her, you're just ignorant. Because you cannot be the same Madonna from the Blonde Ambition tour and then not being it. She is the same person with the same talent and with the same capacity of express a concept through art. And that's something that I really like about her. If I got something from watching the Blonde Ambition tour and this documentary is first that I should keep going with my podcast, because if I work hard, I can do it. And also that I cannot stay silent no matter what. That actually to express yourself is something that matters. And I hope that these episodes, that I'm doing about this help you to get to the same conclusion or even better than that. I think that that is it, you know. These episodes have been really important for me. I'm obviously going to hate them because at this point I hate everything that I do. But I do have a satisfaction that I actually finish all this story. Yeah, at this point I have like 2 hours of content on my podcast about Madonna, and I'm really happy about it. And even though I don't think they are good or great in any way, I had fun getting into this Madonna rabbit hole because I am a fan of her, like you already know. She's my number one in pop. I really, really like everything that she did, everything that she does, and everything that she will keep doing because Madonna is coming back. I have been reading, and some people is thinking that Madonna is going to come back with another tour. Hopefully, she will, because this will be my chance to watch her live. As I said on the previous episode, if anyone listening was a part of the tour or the documentary and you would like to have an interview to clarify some of the points that I talked about, you are all invited. Just let me know and let's do an interview together. And that's it for now, you know. The next episodes are not going to be about Madonna. I think that, yes, there are other things coming related to this. I'm going to make an episode about the documentary Strike a Pose. But right now, I am going to take a little bit of time without doing episodes about Madonna. And I hope that you like all of this content that I have produced related to her. Again, Madonna, I love you. Thank you for being the artist that you are. Thank you for being the rebel that you are. And thank you for never shutting up. Everything that you have said has been really appreciated, at least by one person, and that is me. That is it for today. Thanks for listening and come back to the next episode. Bye.